to evolve. Road trip. Summer to evolve. Summer to evolve. Yeah. The summer to evolve. Road trip. Summer to evolve. Summer to evolve. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Working Session Wednesday. We're here at the Summer to Evolve Road Trip presented by Jobvite. As you saw, we're in Bangalore this week virtually. So shout out to all of the Jobvite folks who are out in Bangalore representing. It's awesome to virtually visit you. Looking forward to getting started with our session today, Centralized versus Decentralized TA and which is right for you. Andres Bueker is going to be leading us through that. But before we get started, I want to cover a couple housekeeping items. So for starters, if we haven't met virtually yet, I'm Amber Ferrari. Nice to have you back, or nice to meet you for the first time. Marketing Communications Manager here at Jobvite. Happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. There's my LinkedIn. Go connect us. Before we get started, if you have any questions, technical, topical, ask them in the Q&A panel. We'll get back to you either in real time or after our session today. The last 10 minutes of the session will be our Kahoot review quiz. We'll be competing for a Jobvite prize pack that has had quite the positive feedback this summer, so we're going to keep doing that. And then there'll be more chances to win prizes, so stay till the very end so that you don't miss out. If you want to tag us on social, we're at Jobvite, and use that hashtag JobviteS2E. That's all from me. I want to bring Andres on here to get us started with our lesson today. So you can go ahead and take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Amber. Hi, everyone. Really appreciate everybody taking the time today. Welcome to our latest road trip here. We'll be covering centralized versus decentralized talent acquisition. Just a little bit about me. I'm Senior Director of Account Management here at Jobvite. Please connect with me on, follow me on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn at Andres Bueker. Pretty straightforward. One of the benefits of having a little bit of a different name, easy to find something that's easy to find. Some fun items for myself as we think about road trip and travel. My favorite trip of all time is going to the Cayman Islands. Had a great time with family. And although a lot of my favorite trips do require flying, if I think of plane, train, or automobile, road trip is usually my preference. I love driving. I love actually being able to see the changes in environment and go across the country and really explore different places. So, but again, specifically to that, always in the driver's seat. I love to drive. And my favorite cuisine is easily Mexican. I could probably have it at least 6, 7, even up to 7 times a week. I almost said per day. That'd be a lot. But no further ado as we get into our session. So what we'll be covering today specifically, again, if we think about centralized versus decentralized talent acquisition, we're going to just do a really high level definition of the models, just in case anybody joining is not familiar with the thoughts that we have here, covering the typical pros and cons that we see and as we work with clients and being in the space, in the talent acquisition space for about 17 years now, what I've seen myself and just in working with customers all across the board. Some key organizational considerations that really apply broadly across the no matter what model you're in, and considerations on how to drive an effective process. Some of the key technology requirements that again apply across the different models, and then we'll get into some specific thoughts around how to really maximize the technology with each model. What are some of the key considerations that you want to take into account in those? And then one of the key areas to focus on right now, and especially as we think about the market and the struggle to get applicants period, is just at a high level, really focusing on what are some of those key candidate experience considerations that we want to drive within these. So as we think about defining the different models, so centralized talent acquisition, pretty straightforward. It is a centralized recruitment process and hiring model where all of those decisions are made by a core group. All of the processes are driven and all the recruitment efforts are driven by that core group, as opposed to decentralized, where those hiring efforts are distributed to individual managers or dedicated and dispersed recruiters or teams. And that doesn't necessarily need to be geographically. It can be by job function or in different areas, but again, a decentralized approach there. And then really what we see is really how a lot of organizations actually end up working is in a hybrid model. If it is kind of a shared services model where maybe you have a centralized sourcing and marketing team where the end recruitment and working with the actual applicants might be more of a decentralized approach. So a lot of different ways, different organizations certainly take bits and pieces of these different ones and leverage them in different ways. But for the purposes of the discussion today, that's the definition that we're kind of following. Some of the pros and cons and the research and conversations that I've had. So if we think about centralized, some of the pros: consistent processes, consistent hiring criteria. If you have the same group of folks doing the actual interviewing and making those decisions, it is pretty consistent across your organization. You have cost efficiency and economies of scale that you can drive because everything is being done out of one core group. Some of the cons to that might be if you need local flexibility, that different hiring markets might have different needs, different job functions might have different needs to that approach. And so if you are doing a centralized and inflexible approach, and we'll get into some of these criteria or decisions that you would need to make to be effective in these, is that you might lose some of that flexibility if you have a really rigid process. On the cons as well is the quality of hiring. If that central team is making those specific hiring decisions, there might be some considerations around personalities, around specific ways and different teams interact, and bringing in maybe somebody that might not mesh with that team. So some items that are potential cons there. If we think about decentralized, the pros, absolutely the hiring flexibility, being able to optimize your strategies and have custom strategies locally. And the cons, that you could easily have varied candidate experiences. If different teams are truly doing things different ways and in their own, candidates could have, could be experiencing a completely different employment brand essentially as they're working with the teams. A lot of times we see this very commonly when you have that decentralization. If you don't have a centralized platform to drive the information, you have a lack of enterprise-wide visibility. What is working, what's not, where are the biggest areas of improvement that you have. You have inconsistency of hiring decisions. So while you have the consistent hiring criteria under the centralized model, that again, because you have different groups of people, hiring managers, different recruiters under different processes making those decisions, there might be some inconsistencies in how those hiring decisions are made, and it is driving ad hoc hiring processes as a whole. On the hybrid side, the pros, it's the best of both worlds. You have the ability to drive cost efficiency, economies of scale, drive at least at an overarching level a consistent process, while being able to then also tailor some of the needs that you have to drive that local optimization and flexibility. From a cons, again, a lot of this is dependent on your underlying technology or platforms that you are using, but sometimes can be very hard to support a hybrid model if you don't have technology that is consistent or that communicates among itself. So again, as you think about the different models, or to ensure that regardless of which model you are operating under, some of the key organizational considerations that we think about. So number one is really defining the span of control. So who owns the processes? Where do those change in the processes really get made? within the different pieces of the process, who owns that, who drives the engagement with the candidate, and all of those decisions, to just have something that's really clear across the organization. Number two, I would say 2 and 3, sorry, clear accountability. So again, regardless if it's a centralized model, a decentralized model, really making sure that your teams, that the individual contributors and teams understand what their accountabilities are, and being able to measure that and drive that. Not or making the decision as far as within maybe particularly a decentralized model, but across the entire team. What is your talent acquisition function? Are they full cycle? Do they specialize in different roles within the talent acquisition space? Are they full cycle talent acquisition professionals? And how you want to manage those, again, regardless of the model, making sure that that's really well defined. What are the types of roles that you're looking for, right? What are your business needs? What does it require? What are those roles now? What do they look like in the future? And what that might mean if you do focus on that specialization versus full cycle. What are the accountabilities that you're trying to drive? What is the makeup of the team that you have? Again, depending on the size and scale of your organization, do you have a dedicated TA function, and how that might actually affect the decisions that you're making here? Ensuring that you're driving enablement across all participating functions. So if you do have that decentralized model or the different groups, making sure that you're driving a consistent experience for the candidates within your organization that helps you ensure that you're in a position that you're able to measure how things are going, but having a consistent, again, underlying process that ensures that everybody has the right enablement, so that those right processes, the right decisions are actually being made. Having a strong strategy around internal mobility. How does that work across different divisions within an organization for internal candidates that want to raise their hand? Is that a process that is clearly defined internally, and so that you're not only providing a good candidate experience for external candidates, but also a good employee experience? And especially as we think about the great resignation and what organizations are going through currently, how can you really tailor your approach and give your internal employees the opportunity to raise their hand for internal jobs? Removing the barriers of must be in the role for a year, some of the legacy items that have been out there, versus just really showing them the door, essentially, in this case, of making them feel like they need to go externally to find the right opportunity for them. Hiring manager involvement, how much does that really play a part, regardless, again, of model? Is it by job function or by level of operating need, if it's for some entry-level roles versus executive, and how much do the hiring managers play a part in that? Hiring geographies, again, if we think about the different ways, and especially as your different organizations are moving to more of a remote type of operation, or is it more in-person, and what does that mean as far as how you want your TA operations to really operate, and which model really fits best. Again, if you have the dedicated TA function specifically, or a little duplication there, do you have or have a clear and defined employment value proposition? So again, regardless of who's driving the communication, how the different constituencies within your organization are communicating with candidates, and leveraging those to make sure that you have that consistent presence and branding across the organization. Really defining and understanding what is your required, what is your desired candidate experience, and what is that journey, what does the process look like for candidates? Again, ensuring that you have the best process possible to ensure that you're converting the candidates from an interested party in your roles to, if they are the right fit, to an employee, and everything that goes into that currently as the market continues to tighten up more and more, making sure that you're delivering the best experience for them. In that case, and similar to internal mobility, are you driving referrals? How are you engaging with your internal employees, regardless of a centralized, decentralized, hybrid model, to make sure that they're in a position where not only do they feel like they have opportunities within your organization, but they want to also bring their friends and family into into the organization, putting them in a better position to actually stay longer term. So those are the key organizational opportunities that we look for. If we think about key technology requirements, again, regardless of model, what are some of the key areas that are important? A strong end-to-end platform. So some platform that is fully talent acquisition focused, driving the best results for you and your team, that is integrated and efficient. It has connected data, helping you measure key performance metrics across the board, that helps drive efficiencies by being able to eliminate manual tasks and automate administrative operations. Flexible. Again, regardless of how you're operating, making sure that your platforms have the ability to have unique user roles that help support the way that you are designing and that your business needs require. You have multiple workflows that you can drive within the technology, that you have a central candidate and applicant communication experience, making sure that you're not duplicating efforts, that candidates and applicants are getting different messages from different groups within your team. That you're driving a personalized candidate experience. And again, with the idea that candidates are hard to come across, that every single one that wants to raise their hand is able to in a quick and easy manner. Some platform that helps drive robust analytics to allow you to really measure. So when you have that integrated and efficient platform that has the connected data, how can you leverage the information that's in there to help you tell a story, to identify areas of improvement, to identify cost savings that you might be able to drive that help drive those economies of scale and really continue to improve the ROI that you're receiving across all of your efforts. A platform that has an intuitive user interface, so especially as we think about engagement with larger recruiting teams or hiring managers that have a lot of other things to do, the better the interface, the more intuitive, the easier it is to use, ensuring that you are driving adoption so that the data is getting into the system and you have the ability to measure on it. Key one here, obviously, is partner support. So the technology partner that you do select, making sure that you're working closely together, that you have an actual partnership and have alignment as to where you're looking to go, what are the key performance indicators that you have, what are the outcomes that you're looking to drive so that you're rowing the boat in the same direction. Another piece as part of that driving adoption is the collaborative platform, making sure that the teams are able to leverage across the board. And again, visibility as to communication with candidates or those interactions. Having, especially as we think about the remote work environment or in a decentralized, is having a robust onboarding platform as well that drives that consistent experience. Now, as those have converted from candidates to applicants, and now as they come in as new employees, that they have the best experience possible and that you have a consistent process that allows you to drive that piece. And as I mentioned earlier, not only having the right strategies around how you're engaging with your employee to help drive your talent acquisition efforts, both for internal mobility as well as employee referrals, but having the platforms behind the scenes that help drive those strategies that you have in place. Some key considerations. So as we really dive into the specific models on how to maximize the technology with in a centralized model, key considerations here, again, making sure that you're looking at how to leverage the technology that you have to be flexible, to leverage the flexibility that you need, and not say that because we are just a centralized model, everything has to operate exactly the same. Different roles, different job functions require different efforts, and so making sure that you build that into your platforms. That you have the ability to have team flexibility. So as needs change in that centralized environment, if you have to repurpose members of the team into different groups, into different efforts, into different hiring needs, different locations, that you're ready to do so as needed to help drive localized specialization and support. So as those needs change, that you can pivot and making sure that you're addressing the specific hiring challenges that maybe different areas of the country, local needs, or again, by job function. And then more than anything, or I guess not more than anything, but just a key is to ensure that you have that centralized data to help measure. how your efforts are going, where can you make improvements to make sure that you're getting the most out of your team and driving the fastest time to fill at the lowest cost. In a decentralized model, how to maximize the leveraging technology. So some of the areas, making sure that you have consistent definitions across the enterprise. So to drive the right data, making sure that everybody is speaking the same language, is really thinking about as the information is being driven into a platform, that the information is consistent there so that you can drive the analytics off of that, and that you're not trying to, that you're speaking the same language, that you're comparing apples to apples versus it being two disparate data sets that don't make any sense and don't really give you the ability to measure and make the right decisions moving forward. That again, because it's one of the cons that we talked about, that you have a really defined candidate experience, and that across the teams that are decentralized, you have the right enablement to those to make sure that everybody is driving that same experience. Similarly, not just to candidates, but also employees. Again, as employees want to raise their hands, are they going to completely experience or have different experiences if they're reaching across the aisle to a different division that might be part of that decentralized model, and working with different hiring managers, making sure that that is a consistent process, that you provide the good experience there. And then the employment brand as a whole, is that consistent? Are there nuances across the employment brands? Are there different employment brands, depending if the decentralized model might actually be across different brands within the organization? So are those clearly defined across your organization and communicated, and making sure that the teams are driving those? And then one of the key ones here, again, is driving adoption, making sure that within those decentralized models, it's easy for hiring managers, and I can definitely speak to that as a hiring manager, to kind of go off script and not leverage the technologies and the tools that we have, and just move forward with candidates. So making sure that the teams are using what you're putting in front of them to make sure that you're able to have the information that you need. Another piece is candidate sharing strategy. So if a candidate is a great candidate for your organization as a whole, but maybe not the right fit for the specific role, for the specific group that they are communicating with in that decentralized model, what is the strategy that you have to share those good quality candidates that would be a good fit across your organization? How do you share those to other groups within the organization to make sure that you're still bringing in good talent, even if that one opportunity might not be the best fit for that one division or that one decentralized group? And then finally, in the hybrid model, some of the key areas is defining that hybrid approach. As being a hybrid, there's no one size fits all as to what that really means. So making sure that what is that approach? Is it a centralized sourcing function, a centralized recruitment marketing function, and decentralized applicant management function, whatever that means, making sure that that is clearly defined and understood across your organization. Making sure that you do have agreed upon SLA. So in the sense that if you do have a defined sourcing model, when a sourcer does find a candidate and passes it along to the recruiter or to a hiring manager, what are the agreed upon SLAs as to how long that hiring manager or recruiter has to move forward with that applicant or not, so that those can be clearly defined, so that you can drive the right adoption within the team. Everybody understands what their accountabilities are. Make sure that you keep the things moving, and again, that you have the right approach for the candidates. We talked about it earlier, that in a hybrid model, if different folks are doing different things and the approaches might be a little bit different, still having the idea of those consistent definitions to help drive analytics on what you're doing, and identifying, as a part of that hybrid, what does that mean to think about specialized functions within the talent acquisition lifecycle, or if they are full cycle recruiters. Final piece that we wanted to cover, again, with the talent market really tightening up more and more, are some of the key candidate experience considerations that no matter what model you are in, that you want to make sure that you continue to focus on. So making sure that the ability for candidates to find the opportunities within your organization, again, if it's centralized, decentralized, with multiple types of jobs and roles and divisions that you might have, but that the candidate experience that they have as they're being exposed to your brand is an intuitive one that they can navigate through your career site or any other content that they might be following or getting into that helps them get to the right place quickly, easily to drive that candidate conversion. That you have the consistency around EVP, around the branding itself. What is that experience, and making sure that you're setting the right expectations for the candidates as far as what the hiring process, what the interview process looks like within your organization, that you have consistent messaging. Again, that they're not getting mixed messages across different groups. If they're interviewing for job A, but sourcer for job B is reaching out to them, and hiring manager for another job is also trying to reach out to them, that you have that consistency, that you have a central repository that gives you visibility as to what the candidate journey looks like, that you have a consistent data capture. So ensuring that the candidate, making it quick and easy for the candidate to give you their information, to raise their hand, that they're not logging into multiple platforms across the organization and confusing what means what are they might be trying to give you information for, whatever it might be. Make that really clear to the candidate and provide one single platform. Mentioned earlier, the expectation setting. What does that process look like across your organization? The needs are different, the approaches might be slightly different, but making sure that those expectations are set up front to provide the best experience for the candidate. Ensuring that you have the easiest way for the candidate to apply. Gone are the days of knowing that candidates are willing and able to take 45 minutes to apply to a job. So the easier you make that process of allowing them to opt into communication, to opt into join talent networks or whatever it might be, making sure that just make that experience as seamless and quick as possible so that the candidates are able to let you know that they're interested in your opportunities, and then let your process take over from there. The final piece that I just wanted to cover, regardless of model, regardless of where you are in the journey, our evolved talent acquisition framework, and we'll be pasting the link to be able to take this, the assessment for this. We have 3 key parts of our evolved model: the recruitment marketing, the applicant management, and the TA operations. So would really encourage anyone that might want to do this to go in, take the assessment. It gives you a really good view as to where your teams are in all of these different process areas, from inbound marketing to requisition management to offer management to compliance. But in a centralized model, allowing you to really see where you are from a maturity perspective in the different areas. From a decentralized model, what are the different decentralized contingencies? Where do they stand? Are they operating differently? Are there best in class groups within your organization that you can leverage to drive best practice sharing across the organization? So again, I would really encourage everybody, excuse me, I'd really encourage everybody to go in, take the assessments. There are 3 individual assessments if your focus is on recruitment marketing or applicant management or TA operations. They're 15 minutes piece, or the entire assessment, 45 minutes that will give you a lot of value. So really appreciate everybody's time today. Hope this was informative, and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thanks, Andres. Appreciate you walking through that. We're gonna close out today with our Kahoot quiz for a Jobvite prize pack. As you're joining us, the URL is kahoot.it. You can enter the game pin 1886732 and join us for this little review quiz. And if you haven't copy and pasted that Evolve short assessment that's in the chat, I'd go ahead and do that. It's vendor agnostic. Anyone can take that assessment. It'll let you know how much of your talent acquisition process that you're currently covering equals a certain level of maturity that we kind of help assess from just a broader landscape of what are some things you could be adding to your process? What are some things that you already do really great? And then you can look at that and see, okay, is my centralized process still benefiting me? Should I switch to a decentralized process? Or, oh my gosh, I have a hybrid process, it works great. So definitely check that out. For the sake of time, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So please keep joining if you haven't entered that number in yet, and we'll get you going on the quiz as soon as it starts. All right, listeners, here we go. Quiz question number 1. What is one of the key technology requirements for successful talent acquisition efforts regardless of model? Is it maximized candidate experience and conversion? Several non-integrated TA tools that get the job done? Convert candidates without tracking, or multiple places to pull reports from? So what is the key technology requirements for successful TA? The answer is maximize candidate experience and conversion. So you want a centralized place to pull reports from, not multiple. All right, next question. What is not a pro of the centralized talent acquisition? So is it consistent processes, local flexibility, consistent hiring criteria, or cost efficiency? So what is not a pro of centralized talent acquisition? The answer is local flexibility. So that would be for the decentralized model. All right, next question. What should not be considered a key requirement for decentralized TA? If you're just learning these definitions, this is a tough one this week. So is it flexible platforms supporting multiple teams, flexible configurability, robust analytics, or a single TA team focus? So what should not be considered a key requirement? Answer is single TA team focus. So remember, the decentralized model supports a lot of teams doing recruitment all at the same time. So Sherry is in the lead here. We're going to have one more question to see who comes out on top for that prize pack. So if you don't have centralized data, how might the Evolve model help identify how your team is performing? So is it through rating your TA operations, scoring your recruitment marketing efforts, identifying strong processes across your disparate teams, or all of the above? This Evolve model, what's it going to help you figure out? It's all of the above. It actually does all of that and gives you a place to kind of pull from. So our winners today, in third place, Sherry, amazing job. Second place is Elisa. And then first place, our winner is Mary. So Mary, we're gonna put my email in the chat. If you could reach out to me directly, we will make sure to get you hooked up with your Jobvite prize pack. And then to close us out today, I do want to direct you to one more place to potentially win some prizes. So if you go to jobvite.com/word, our word of the day today for Working Session Wednesday is Palace. So go ahead and enter in Palace. You'll be entered in a drawing to win some Jobvite swag for this week. But then more importantly, you will be entered in for a chance to win the $1,000 grand prize of the summer Marriott gift card. So definitely continue to visit us and put in those words of the day at each of your Summer to Evolve sessions. And then just following up here quickly, tomorrow we still have one more session for week 7 on centralized versus decentralized TA, our theme for the week. So we're going to be talking about scaling up your recruiting process. So how can you mature what you're already doing and improve upon some of those actions that you're taking and maybe add to it? And then next week, we will be moving from Bangalore, week 7, to Sydney, week 8, agile recruiting. We have all of our sessions next week. Don't forget, you do have 2 chances to earn some SHRM credit. So our 2 Talented Tuesdays and our Working Session Wednesdays are worth SHRM credits and have been all summer. So if you need to get more of those, next week is your last chance because we'll be closing out the summer. So I especially hope to see you next week on Working Session Wednesday. And thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll continue to see you out on the road. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers, everyone.